campus. So we're going to start it up with back with Doug and have a little bit of comic relief probably this morning and a little recap and then get ready for the day. So thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. I think it's been a pretty good turnout for the state of Wyoming, given that we were here on a Thursday and a Friday. Next time we do it, we're going to shoot for a Tuesday, Wednesday, so that travel won't be as difficult. So thank you for coming.
I'm Doug McGee. I'm the YDOT PR guy. I'm also the adopted cousin Eddie of ANI HRD. I don't know if that reference just died, sorry. Christmas Vacation, any vacation movie? No? All right. Check that one off. So before I get started, so yesterday I told a story about when I was I got promoted to PR guy, and Lon Fau at YDOT HR asked me to come down, and he asked me to help improve their image in the agency. And I told the joke about how, well, could we change your name to the Office of Wine and Free Shoes? And then later I was talking to him and Spencer, to Brian Foster and Spencer, Brian now being the HR guy at YDOT. And he says, you know, that story you told about 13 years ago has come true. So he set it up a little bit for me yesterday when he mentioned they have a wine jar. So if you wine, you got to put $1 in. And then we have a new program that's going to be starting. It's sort of an expansion. I don't even know if I should tell you this, because but it's an expansion for certain employees, you know, they get uniforms, work clothes, whatever. And they're expanding it, and it's going to include steel-toed work boots. And it's going to be run out of his office, I think, by Holly. So he's literally now the Office of Wine and Free Shoes. So I did it! Just took me 13 years. So, and then before we get on to the next thing, I get to have an Oprah moment. So I want all of you to look under your chairs. Some of you will have, I'm not lying either. I know I'm a PR guy. I'm literally paid to sometimes bend the truth. There are gift cards under some of your chairs. Don't sit there looking at me. You look under your chair. And then if you actually got one, I'm told, is this a big setup? Are you guys making fun of me? Stick your hand in the air. You get a gift card, and you get a gift card, and you get a gift card. Also, there's a bunch of empty chairs up here. Am I going to be the one that checks them? I don't know what that is. Yeah, you know they would reward someone for sitting up front. No, that's a manufacturer's sticker. That's not a gift card. How many were there, do we know? I see one. What is that, Dasbach? Starbucks. Are there 6? Hold them up. One's a sticky note. I don't know if that's a thing. No. That was from the wedding reception last night. You're out. Was that ours, dear? I don't know. Well, congratulations. That was fun. Yeah. So Trish said I'm supposed to do a recap of yesterday. So she said recap, but what I heard was tease everybody that had to get up on stage yesterday. So, but before I do that, I do want to talk about that, you know, for me to stand up here and talk to you guys, I mean, that's like I mentioned yesterday, I love this stuff. It's like a drug for me. I like to show off, being the third oldest of 14. But when you have to do it in front of your peers, like everybody else yesterday, which I have to do later this month, we're going to go to thrilling Biloxi, Mississippi, and I have to present in front of a whole bunch of DOT HR people. See how long I've been doing this? DOT PR people from all over the country. And that's, I mean, my stomach's fluttering just thinking about it, because you're in a room full of people that do what you do. They're your peers. If you say something wrong, they will know. And you will possibly be tagged with a nickname for years, although in HR you probably wouldn't, because that might be actionable, but in the PR world we will. Which after that presentation yesterday, Brenda, I can't believe I'm still employed. But so I do want to take a minute to recognize all those that are still in here that were here yesterday that had to get up here and present. That's hard to do. And so before I make fun of you, I wanted to say, hey, nice job. It's awesome. So let's give them a hand. And since I don't know how this thing's going to end because I'm leaving, we should also thank the folks who put this on. This is a lot of work to do. As a state PR guy, I know, it's really good for me. I try to keep contacts with other agency PR folks. And somebody, I think it was maybe Kim Detai, one of the other agencies, actually started a group together. So we fit at 2 of these tables, so you guys have a great group. But it's really important to know your counterparts and get together. So to Tricia and her team, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. And there's 100 little things that, if you put one of these on that can go wrong. So including a speaker that won't stand still. Isn't that awful, Matt? People always ask us, will you videotape our training? It's really important, and we only want to shoot it once. I'm like, well, you're going to do this because this is going to make it really hard to capture. So the other thing, after Tricia told me, well, you have to recap, I realized, so after my thing, I got to stay? Listen to all this HR stuff. So I did. So just to get us started, we started with a hilarious series of side-splitting anecdotes from me. You're welcome. And then it was my good friend Brenda Reedy from the Department of Corrections. And I wrote down the title of her presentation as Document! Discipline! That's the way I remember it. And I got to thinking that PR and HR, we're really similar, in my opinion. Somebody does something they shouldn't have done. And maybe they screwed up, maybe they messed up, maybe they just did something downright idiotic. And now we got to fix it, or deal with it, or discipline it, or in my case, I got to put glitter on bear scat. So, but very similar. Somebody did something wrong very often. That's the bad days, right? And now we got to try to fix it. So I think that's why I kind of have I feel like I have a flair or a connection with HR. So the only difference was on this one, Brenda's like, and by the way, so she took a shot at me because, I have a foul mouth. I was a furniture mover in college. That's not what I want. And then in a dark period of my life, I'm ashamed to admit, I was a car salesman, so I do swear quite a bit. But so like an hour or so after I do my thing and then Brenda does her thing, I get this phone message. You will be taken under custody by the local police as there are 4 serious allegations pressed against your name at this moment. Brenda, we can work this out with the mediator, I'm sure. So, don't F with DOC. You got it. But the big difference she brought to light between you guys, document. And Ann's always telling me that too when I'm dealing with employee issues, Be sure you document that. You got to document that. Well, that's a big hard line difference between us. Because in the PR world, it's delete, shred, destroy. Hey, baby, we got to have plausible deniability. I don't got no emails or pieces of paper or nothing that say that. I don't remember anything about that. And all my really serious emails have subject line, the guy from that thing about the stuff. So when they say, we want every email about Mr. Bob Smith, well, I ain't gotten any of those. So that's our big difference there. But I found that pretty interesting. And then Ann talked about something. Some of you were like, I can't believe you left when your wife was giving a presentation. No, I was ordered to leave. The one time I peeked in, she gave me a look that was like icicles, like stab. I got the hell out of here. I went and bought a new hoodie at the store. It's really nice at the LCCC. So I can only assume that whatever she said was really important, extremely well presented, and I will just share an experience that, so then when I give you a piece of advice. So years back, she was still the HR person at the DOT, and I was the new manager, and this was long before, and we were friends and coworkers. So I go to see her, I'm like, I got this employee, and this is what she did. And I'm really upset, and we got to put the hammer down here. And I was like, okay, walk me through it. So I go through the whole, she says, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to call her up to your office, and you're going to say, blah, blah, blah. You got it? It's like, absolutely. Okay, so what are you going to do? I'm going to call her up to my office. I'm going to say, so-and-so and such, et cetera. And she's, you're going to say, what? I'm going to say, so-and-so, such, et cetera. Is that what I said? Did I say so-and-so, such, et cetera? Well, no, you said blah, blah, blah. So why'd you say so-and-so, such, et cetera? Well, I'm not really a blah, blah, blah type of guy. I'm kind of a so and such type of guy. So it's the same thing. You say so-and-so, such and such. I don't know how this thing's going to go next. You say blah, 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 because then it's going to be over. So what are you going to say? If I found out you said blah, 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 we got a problem. You understand? Yes, ma'am, I understand. Well, what are you going to say? I'm going to call her up, I'm going to ask her to sit down, and I'm going to say blah, blah, blah. That's what you're going to do. So I did, and it was all over. So whatever she told you yesterday, you do exactly what she said, and you'll be fine. That's also been my experience as her husband. Just do what she says. I never met anybody with so many good ideas. You're right, honey. I never thought about it from that perspective. Whew. And then, I need a drink for this one. This is not tea. Bourbon. Anyway, then there was Kathy Corso from retirement. Got the name right? So I'm sitting back there, and she's going through her thing. I think it was about something called rain. I don't know. I'm a PR guy. I don't need to know that. So I'm not close enough. I got way too long to go. But there was this alliterative effect, and I'm looking around the room like, is anybody else getting this? I don't know how many times she said rehired, retired, retired, rehired, rehired, retired. The rehired, retired, will do this. You got to redo retired, rehired. Like, wow, this lady is killing it. I mean, say that thing 5 times fast. So then it got me thinking about a buddy of mine, because at Wyandotte, we have a huge fleet of vehicles. We have about 2,000 people, and we have about 2,000 vehicles. It doesn't mean we all get a car. You work for Wyandotte, here's your car. So we got snow plows, and we got these big street sweepers, and we got rotary plows and stripers and everything. So, but his name's Benny Quagmire, and he works in the shop, and he changes tires. When the car's tires are all worn out, he puts new tires on. And he likes to call himself Quagmire the retirer. The retirer. So I just wanted to inquire, because Quagmire the retirer, a.k.a. Quagmire the liar, a while back desired to retire and no longer retire. So he did retire. But after some time it expired, Quagmire the retired retirer saw a flyer that we were looking to hire a new retirer, and after some thought desired to inquire if he could be rehired to retire once again. So now we had Quagmire the liar, who's never been fired, as a rehired, retired retirer. Then after about a year expired, Quagmire the rehired, retired retirer decided enough time had again expired, and he desired to retire from retiring for expired tires. So we're inquiring what's required to comply with the desire to retire once again from retiring, and no longer be a rehired retired. I woke up at 3 in the morning with some of that stuff. I really thought that was going to bomb, so thank you for applauding. I appreciate that. So I hope she takes that well when she hears I did that. And then there was Kimberly Fields, who's not here, so we can pick on her all we want. She was, oh wait, Matt's recording. She talked about mojo, among other things, with the red balloons. And the red balloons representing those problems that come along. And that got me thinking about a few things, but So she had that exercise up here with all you folks and Jared, trying to keep the blue balloons up, which were like day to day. Oh, they're still over there, and the white balloons are silver. And then here comes the red ones, you know, and I known Jared for a while, so I like to pick on him, so I'm watching for anything that might happen. So he's up here, he's kicking one. And for a while, it was him and one other person. They realized, I got my blue one, and you got your blue one, and we got one red one. We can do this. Screw those guys. But eventually, the balloons start floating over. So, and you know, I assumed the whole point of that, because it was a pretty fun exercise, I thought, together, we could keep those red balloons up. We can deal with those red balloons. And some of you, you know, you're a mixed bag person. You know, well, I do this, I do that, and a little HR, and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of you in here that sounds like to do that. So when those red balloons come along, remember to call somebody else in this room. You don't necessarily have to be saying, hey, you know, I need you to solve this for me. Because believe me, in the PR world, I would never admit to one of my peers, oh my God, I need your help. I can't do this. Because that would just be way too big of a shot to my ego. But I will call someone and say, hey, this is what's going on. Have you ever faced it, and what did you do? And then I can take pieces of what they did and pieces of what somebody else did, and I can figure out what works best for YDOT. So you can do the same thing. I bet there's nothing you're going to face that some of your peers haven't faced already, or something really similar. So I hate old org speak sayings, but don't reinvent the wheel. Okay, pick low-hanging fruit. So, little org speak for you. I know HR people love that. But so that's, you know, that was my takeaway on the red balloon thing. And then she talked about the mojo and the nojo. So I was going to share. These are not really funny, but I had a recent mojo moment, I felt like, and a while back I had a nojo that created the PR battle cry that I will share with you. And I should have told you yesterday, so it could have been your mantra for this whole thing. But so you get it for a day. But my mojo moment, this really wasn't too long back. I get a phone call because I am the YDOT guy and I'm on TV, obviously. And so people will call me from all over the state who I've never met before. So they call YDOT and they ask for me. And because I'm on TV, they assume I can solve everything. I'm involved in everything. And I'm a decision maker for everything. And almost all of that is not true. But I do know who can make things happen usually. So this guy calls me, he's 90 years old, he tells me. He's been a rancher in Wyoming his whole life. He's like a fourth-generation rancher, somewhere up around Wheatland, I think. You know, a true Wyoming rancher. Lives out in the middle of nowhere, right? The ranch house, there's not a neighbor for miles and miles and miles. 90 years old. He tells me we don't even have computers on the ranch. There's no computers on the ranch. Considered that a point of pride. But he has seen some of our ads for seatbelts and everything. He's driving around the state and driving to town and everything. And he's seen the overhead signs, which you guys might call overhead signs or electric signs or whatever. We call them DMS, dynamic message signs. And hey, I have a great idea for a message on one of them signs. I'm 90 years old, and this would be the best thing ever if before I die, my idea could get up on one of those signs. You know, and I'm a crusty son of a gun some days, but this guy was like, man, I want to help this guy out. He's 90 years old. And he thinks he has a good idea, so I'll hear him out. And his idea was not a good one, but he says something along the lines of race car drivers and pilots wear helmets. So should you. Be like them, or wear seatbelts. It was just motorcycle season, I apologize. Wear seatbelts, be like them, and buckle up. Well, I thought the average person would go, well, yeah, they wear seatbelts. They're race car drivers and fighter pilots. Why wouldn't they wear a seatbelt? I'm just driving a car. So that's what I didn't quite like about it. But I was like, you know, I'm going to try to come up with a way to use this. I think his name was Alan, now that I'm talking about it. So I said, Alan, I'm going to find a way to work this if I can. And then we were back and forth, because if he was out in the field, apparently, there was no cell phone, so I'm leaving him voicemails. He calls when I'm not there. I'm getting voicemails. And sometimes he's really frustrated, as a 90-year-old guy can get. And then I'd get a hold of him and say, Alan, calm down. I'm trying to figure this out. Well, then along comes Frontier Days, and we got fighter pilots in town. So we took some photos of the Thunderbirds, and we posted on Facebook, not on the overhead sign, because they have a limited number of characters, for crying out loud. So I put on Facebook, Thunderbirds buckle up every trip, every time. So should you. Be like the Thunderbirds. We put it out on Facebook, and we do have 25,000 followers, so I felt like, man, that's pretty good exposure. So I called Alan, and actually I forgot for a couple weeks, and I finally remembered to call him. He's like, oh, thank God you called. I dropped my phone in the trough. I lost all the phone numbers. I didn't know how to get a hold of you again. And like, well, you just called it information last time at the front desk. But anyway, so I told him what I'd done. I said, I know you don't have a computer and you probably don't do Facebook. Well, I don't do Facebook, but I know what it is. I said, Alan, we got 25,000 followers worldwide, and they got to see your message. And that was a great, I mean, the guy was choking up. This rough, tough, I mean, you know, some guy whose hands are probably like sandpaper, and at 90 years old could probably still kick my butt sideways. He's choking up, telling me how grateful he was. So that was a mojo moment. I really like that. So I encourage you, if you get those opportunities, because I was having the usual lousy day of really stupid issues coming along. And here's this guy, and I'm like, oh, great. Another guy with a great idea. But he was such a nice guy, and I put all that usual sarcasm aside, and I was like, I want to help this guy and make him feel better. Man, so when you can do that, do. And here I am, weeks later, I'm still carrying that with me, and it feels really good. So I hope when you get a chance, you'll do that. So that was my inner Jared. So I've done a few projects with ANI HRD, and I'm the guy that, you know, so Debbie will say, oh, well, I think we should do blah, blah, blah. I'm like, sorry, Debbie, that's ridiculous. Okay, come on, we're going to do that. And then Jared will go, well, now, Doug, I understand what you're saying, but I think we could do something. So I always see him as I'm opening myself up to all kinds of jokes, but he's, you know, with like the yin and yang of attitude. So, but that was a really great moment. And then my no-Joe, years back, it's winter. We closed the road. Yeah, that's right. We're going to do it again. A whole bunch of them. So we close the road. We're out, you know, our guys are out plowing. We have like 240 plows across the state. They're doing the best they can. Mother Nature's a son of a gun. What are you going to do? So, and I mean, it is coming down. The wind is howling. Things are just nasty. And some guy comes storming in the front door at YDOT. So if you've been out there, you know, the big marble lobby, this old 1950s marble tile, and there's a desk, and there's my admin, and my office is right behind her. So I hear him stomping in and pounds on the counter. I want to talk to somebody about your snow plows. So I usually when I hear somebody that nasty, I'm like, I guess I'm up. So I walk out. I said, sir, is there an issue? I'm driving down I-25, and here's one of your snow plows throwing up. He's supposed to be sanding the road. That's not sand, that's rocks. Well, sidebar, it's not playground sand, people. This is an interstate. We call it sand so most people will understand what we mean. It's here's some engineer talk, it's aggregate. And it is about a 3/4 inch, and we want it to have sharp edges, because guess what? Nice, smooth, tiny, round sand will just roll right on off the road, or you'll slide right across it. So oddly enough, we chose not to use that. Now here's another engineering fact about rocks. They got moisture in them. It looks like a hard, dry rock, but there's moisture in there, and you put it all into a big truck, and you add cold weather, they're going to clump together. So now our 3/4 inch rock might have joined forces with a couple more, and you got a 1.5 inch rock bouncing on down the highway at 45, 55 miles an hour. So sidebar, that's what happens there. So he's demanding, you know, I'm going to talk to somebody about this. You're using rock. So I try to tell him basically that, well, I understand you get sand, blah, 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 aggregate, sharp edges, they embed, traction. So I don't give a damn about that. My windshield's cracked. My brand new car. It's cracked because of your truck. And I want you to come out and look at it. You're going to see the damage. Now, show of hands, who's had a cracked windshield or just seen one in passing? Are you forensically skilled enough to walk up to a crack and go, that just happened? And it was caused by aggregate from a whiteout snowplow. So I look out the big front windows. I was like, sir, I don't know, what good will it do me to see your windshield? So besides, that's A&I's problem. You got to go to risk management. And I can tell you since 1917, I think we've bought 0 windshields for people. But anyway, I mean, it's snowing and blowing 7 kinds of frozen hell out there, and I don't want to go out. He's already mad. So I said, sir, there's not going to be, for all I know, you got up this morning, and for some crazy reason, you grabbed a ball-peen hammer off your workbench, and you smacked that windshield out of frustration. And then driving on the road, you saw a plow, and you're like, oh, I know who's going to buy me a new windshield. Sort of just trying to give him a devil's advocate, why would I go look at your windshield thing? Okay, here's my advice right now, don't do that. It did not go well from there. Are you calling me a liar? Well, no, why would I do that? Well, I was just trying to say, what's wrong with you? Now get your coat and we're going to go outside and we're going to look at that windshield. I said, no, I'm not going, there's no point in it. I'm not even the guy. But I said, do you get my point? There's no reason for me to look at it. Okay, now this is a direct quote, Brenda. Throws his hands in the air, starts stomping out, and he turns just before the glass doors. Typical government. And he stomps out, which that became our motto in YDOT Public Affairs. So you can use it for this event if you want. So that was my no-Joe moment. That did not go well. Although it came up, we had a little fun at the end, but that was a bad day. So the other thing, the Kimberly's thing was, we had those cards, and we wrote on there the value of HR. Did that little exercise. So I'm not going to do this. Okay. I had to check on Ann with one. No, we're not going to do that joke. No? Okay. But what came out of that, everybody wants to, most of it was about helping employees, helping coworkers, assist in a conflict, protect, or a lot of words like that. We all want to do the same thing. It's just sometimes they make it really hard. But, just keep that in mind. Like I said earlier, you're really doing pretty much the same thing, just a different angle. And some of you, there's pieces of it that are different. Luckily, we're not all dealing with prisoners or angry snow plow victims, but we all have those pieces. And then the next thing was the wrap up, which that's where you got to hear bear story number 2. So that was I think that was a good bookend with the 2 bear stories. So. And then I made a joke about Bear Scat today. That's 2 days in a row, bear jokes. You're welcome, people. That's not easy. So let's see you bookend it in at the end of the day, Tricia. You better get looking. The other thing I would throw out, I did that. So just wrap up. So I ran into here in this room. There's a couple of folks that used to work for or with my dad. And then I saw them last night. Every Thursday night I do what I call Meals on Wheels. Ann's mom makes dinner for my folks. My mom's really ill. She has Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and Dad's getting up there too. So Ann's mom's a hell of a cook. So my dad's main complaint in life, this is what you got when you're really old, is food. That's it. Oh, I can't get a decent meal for nothing. And by the way, when I was talking to Kendra, and she told a story about my dad, and she did the same voice I do. So there's something, because she'll always say, when you do your dad, he doesn't sound anything like that. But in my head, he does. So it got me thinking that, and Ann and I have talked about her dad, the late, great George McIlvain, and they were great businessmen, but HR nightmares, I'm sure, by today's standards. Because my dad, I was reminded, one of his would be, so he's just, must be 76 now. And so an employee would walk in, he'd been the boss for most of his career in his accounting firm. And somebody would walk up, some young guy growing a mustache, which I grew my first mustache, well, this is it, in 1987. I went off to college, and the first thing I was like, I'm going to mustache. Take that, Dad. And I haven't shaved it since, however many years that is, since 1987. So some guy would come walking up, he's got a mustache, and my dad, he'd be telling my dad something, Are we not paying you enough? It's like, well, I don't know, what are you talking about? We're doing okay. It looks like you can't afford to buy a razor. You need some money? You need a couple of bucks? Head on down to the drugstore, get yourself a razor. Let me see what I can help you out with. No, I got a razor. No. Oh. Well, you better use it. You show up with that thing tomorrow, you're going to be working somewhere else. Or if a guy had an earring in, which, come on, was 80s and 90s, and hell, my brother had an earring. Wait, does your wife know you're wearing a jewelry today? Well, it's the style, Mr. McGee. Not in this office, it isn't. Not in here, it's not. You got to take that gosh darn thing out of your ear. I had to set my mic to PG. You're going to get to work. I come around here and you're wearing that thing again, you're out of here. And then a guy in a pink shirt, oh my God, the world has stopped spinning. Does your sister know you're wearing her shirt? What's wrong with you? And I swear, all those old employees, when he dies, they're going to show up at his funeral, and it's going to be nothing but pink shirts, facial hair, and men's jewelry. But it's just, that old-time stuff. I don't know, those old school, and a lot of that's still in me. You're telling your story about Kilt Boy. In my mind, I'm like, well, yeah, he asked for it. A couple years ago, one of my guys shows up, he's got on this vest, and it has all these pockets and buckles and zippers and patches that look semi-military and all this, and it's mustard yellow. When he comes walking into the staff meeting that morning, I'm like, what's happening, Top Gun? Are we going into the danger zone? Check your 6, Iceman. All right, come on. Apparently, I could have been in really big trouble, and now I just confessed it to all you, so maybe I am. But I think a statute of limitations might have passed. But so I don't know how you do it, because I should be on that review committee or whatever. I'm not volunteering. So I just tell the guy, dude, you showed up on PT day in a kilt. You know you were wanting trouble. So you asked, you got, end of story, get to work. So I don't know how you do it, but anyway, I should wrap this up probably. But my final thing would just be about communication. I am your worst employee, and I can be your best teammate, because I do suffer, like I said, from authority opposition disorder. When people tell me, you got to do this, well, why? Because. And I know I'm not alone in this, and you probably don't like it either. Because? No. Like yesterday with the cake, Kimberly says, there is cake back there, but you can't have any until, and I told Ann, if I wasn't a type 1 diabetic, I would be over there immediately, right now, eating cake. I'm a grown adult, and you're going to tell me there's cake in the room, but I can't have it unless I comply with your wishes? Baloney. Baloney. So I had the same, I had a problem with a gal, a lady at YDOT, who was in charge of she was the highway safety grants person. And I get anywhere from $750 to $1.5 million a year in highway safety grant funds to advertising and stuff for seatbelts, alcohol, all that sort of thing. And she was always ordering me, you got to do this, you got to do this. I'm like, well, why? Because I said so. And that was it. Boy, I'd about had it after a few years of that. So next year it was time to fill out the grant request forms, and I didn't do it. And her boss, who's a friend of mine, comes down, he's like, well, I haven't seen your grant request, so I don't want it. It's not actually in my, it's not in my job description. It's just something I do extra because it's fun, and we get to be creative, and we like to think that maybe we make a difference, but I'm not going to be treated that way anymore. So I turned down $1.5 million in, pretty flexible funding that gives my team an opportunity to do really fun and creative, meaningful work, because another employee just wouldn't tell me, hey, here's the reason. We need to meet these requirements from the feds. And if we don't meet them, these other things are going to happen. And other people will suffer because you didn't do your part. We're all a team on this, and we got to do our part. And she never would do that, and she retired. But her predecessor sat down, and we talked about it, and all the stuff that he hates too, but I got to jump through these hoops. And his predecessor sat down and she reminded me of why she has to do all those things and ask for all this information that feels annoying to me. And everybody since then, we've sat down and talked about what are the requirements this year, what are the strings attached. And as long as I know, I'll do all the annoying paperwork you want to do. So communication is really important. So I would ask that you do that when you have somebody being really obstinate back and not replying to those automated get your PMI done emails, because now it's like, well, you're not going to tell me what to do. Just go down and let them know, hey, if you don't do this, we can't do the next steps. And so communicate more. And if you need help with that, you probably got a PR person. Give them something new to do. And if not, give me a holler, I'll help you out. I got nothing better. So I once got called, and I don't even know, I was called a tyrannical hypogenator. That's not even a word, tyrannical is, but hypogenator isn't it? So if you ever need help from a tyrannical hypogenator, I'm your guy. And that's it. Thanks. Have a good day.